pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll have roll call.
Andy Mary,
Yes.
Jim Balzer,
Here.
Mike Boldig,
Here.
Noel Deep,
Here.
Wayne Gagnon,
Here.
Jeannie Long,
Here.
Mary Neufeld, Danny Pyatt, absent, JD Schrader.
Here.
Okay, and we will go on to the...
Mr. President, before we go on to approving the consent agenda, I would move that in board action tonight that items C and D be placed above item B based on the order of what we're approving them. I think that would make more logical sense, and since we're approving a budget after we approve other items.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion or further questions? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we will go on now to approve the amended consent agenda.
I move the board approve the minutes from the October 27, 2020 Board of Education meeting. Financial report, excuse me, financial report from October 2020, consideration of current bills, checks number 4238 through 4326 in the amount of $148,942.03. ACH's 2021-00303 through 2021-00397 in the amount of $456,278.47, and one wire transfer in the amount of $13,586.44, for a total of $718,816.94.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions or comments on items of the consent agenda? And if not, we'll do a roll call.
Balzer,
Yes.
Boldig,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Neufeld,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And we'll go on to citizens and delegations. Kim, is there any? There's no public comment, so we'll move right along to the student representative report.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about our Captain Poultry Week, which both the middle school and high school participated in last week. We had several dress-up days throughout the week. Monday was Pajama Day, Tuesday was Red, White, and Blue, or USA Day. Wednesday, we all wore flannels, and Thursday was Camo and Blaze Orange Day. And we saw really good participation among the grade levels, and it was really nice to see that school spirit coming together to raise items, canned items for the food pantry. In total, we collected almost 1,200 items at the high school and well over 1,000 items at the middle school, I believe. And part of the reward system for the items that we raised was teachers that had to run the PACER test. We had about a dozen teachers that ran the PACER test in the gym, and 6 teachers that got pied, including Mr. Morone. So that was really nice to see.
What's the PACER test?
It's a fitness aerobic test that high schoolers take in gym class to measure their cardiovascular ability, and it's not thought of as a punishment, but it's not something we look forward to, so it's just kind of fun to see staff members go through that. And at the end of the week, the PACER test and the teachers being pied was live streamed, and all of the homerooms watched it from the gym, so it was really great to see it.
Okay.
All right, and then swinging into winter sports, we have the hockey team, the boys hockey team. They have a scrimmage tonight against Pines. That's being held at 6 p.m. until around 8. And then we have girls basketball having their first game December 1st. That'll be a home game against Mosinee. We have boys basketball, which will be December 4th at Medford. And then girls gymnastics, they'll be kind of later in December 21st, and that'll be away against Marshfield. We have the cheer team, they'll have tryouts held December 3rd. Wrestling will have their first meet December 10th, and then boys swim cannot compete because they only have 2 boys signed up as of right now. So we're hoping to have more boys sign up for the swim team.
And girls hockey has a game this Saturday
Yes.
in Appleton.
Okay, thank you.
Can I presume that the outside attendance at the winter sporting events is going to be very similar to what we experienced in the fall?
Correct.
Okay, we will move on to the COVID update.
Okay. 2 updates for you this evening. One just has to do with numbers, of course. So Darlene ran the numbers of temporary remote learners again. And the highest number out this week we're at the middle school 59, high school 49, north 27, west 13, and east 9 for a total of 157. That does include 4 full classrooms. However, 3 of those are scheduled to come back on Monday and the other one on Tuesday. So if numbers don't increase, well, we wouldn't have to quarantine related to school anyway over this upcoming break, but depending upon what happens with numbers, we should be able to start with hopefully more back than we've had in a while. And right now, we have 8 staff in isolation, but no positives, just quarantining. And then the total number since the school year began of cumulative cases is up to 107. And that would be staff and students. So, the other thing I wanted to share with you, we mentioned already, and that was our plan for remote inclement weather days. And Amy and I worked on this together, but had input from admin and fewer teachers because we haven't rolled it out yet. But just wanted to show you a quick cheat sheet, if you will. This would be a snow day because the expectations are a bit different. They're a little bit softer than they would be for an extended closure, obviously. There's a lot of sentiment, as you might imagine, about grieving the loss of snow days. I've read, how they're tradition and they're good for families. And it's really a coin that you can look at on either side, certainly. So we think our expectations will help us with those instructional minutes. It'll keep kids engaged, although not for that rigorous, 7.5 hours that they would be if they were in school. So anyway, I plan to share this with staff at some point over break, and so that they're ready for that first snow day when it comes by having a plan uploaded in Canvas that takes all that pressure off, and kids can log in, they'll see that it's there, ready to go, and it will feel very manageable then. And that concludes my report, unless the board has any questions.
Okay, any questions or further comments? Okay, then we will go on to new business, and item E would be approved committee of the whole minutes from November 10th.
Move the board approve the minutes from the committee of the whole meeting on November 10th, 2020.
Second.
Any questions or comments on those? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we'll go on to item B, student support system presentation.
So we have 4 staff members here tonight to give you an update on student supports. We've talked to you last year about a behavior pathway, and the update that they'll provide you for about 15 minutes or so is current. It covers elementary, middle, and high school level. And in addition, you'll see that it is not just about behavior, it's about academic and how those pathways are really dependent on each other many times. And so Megan Murphy will kick it off. Joining her then are Donna Smith from the elementary school, Heather Moronk from middle, and Matt, I'm sorry. I can't have 3 children, I thought I did. I can't be as Heather McCann, I apologize, from the middle school, and Matt Moronk from the high school.
All right, so I know that you guys are a little bit acquainted with the previous behavior pathway. So just to remind you, this is what it looked like before. And so we have separated behavior and academics out into 2 separate systems. We have teachers try and work through, and then Amy, if you want to open the RTI document, this is the RTI framework that is out there. It's quite extensive. I don't remember how many pages it is, but many, many pages, many, many steps. And what we noticed was that teachers didn't know what to do or how to access any of our supports and in what order to access any of the supports. So I was tasked with creating something simple, something that our teachers can actually follow, and something that could align across the district. So I put in several hours of work and aligned our behavior pathway with our RTI system. I took out all extraneous steps or redundant steps, so it could be as simple and user-friendly as possible. And then this framework, and you can see some things have an asterisk before them. Those were kind of my suggestions of things that we could link in, so that this document could be used by teachers to gain support for any student that they are beginning to struggle with. So then I handed it over to every level, knowing that we needed to tweak because a 12th grader who's struggling is very different than a kindergartner who's struggling. So let's look at it by every level and put the supports that we already have. I noticed we had a ton of supports in place. We just didn't know when and how to use them. So let's put them into the system so teachers know exactly when to use them. So hand it over to you.
All right, Kim. So the elementary support system, we utilize the framework that Megan created, and as you can see in there, there's several links. So we were able to add links for things that we already had in place. So we have many universal supports in place, and you'll see a lot more links available there. We did really want to make sure that we are incorporating and communicating with families more often. So you'll also see that in there, as we feel as caregivers are essential parts of the support for our students. It is divided into the 3 different areas: universal supports, our pre-SST level, and then our SST level. And then if you click on the link, the title.
What does SST mean?
Student Support Team. And the title, if you can click on the title, it is linked to a step-by-step. So each level did create a step-by-step, and it is linked in our support system as well. And a teacher could follow just this step-by-step guide. It is the flow chart that is just created in a step-by-step, and it does have the links created right in there as well. So a teacher could, we identified that this would provide more support for our teachers, as it provides them really with that step-by-step of who do I contact, what do I need, who do I talk to, who do I follow up with after the pre-SST meeting, what are the action steps, and then one other piece that's really important is that we are including information now in our Infinite Campus system, which in the past, if students were being provided supports, we didn't always put that into our system for the following teachers to have access to. And so we know that it's very important to have access to those materials. So we are including that in our Infinite Campus system moving forward as well.
So ours looks similar at the middle school, a little bit different. We've added, Amy, if you want to click on this culturally responsive classroom. So these first 2 boxes really focus in on the universal aspect of what the teacher, what are things that we're doing in our classroom, and we added this to our PBIS system. So these are all live links, and they're like quick little short YouTube videos for teachers to review procedures and or attention signals. And we are using this a lot with our mentor-mentee program, but then also using it to review and reteach ourselves just as we would do with our students. And then we also have our self-reflection suites, if you want to open up one of these. Universally we have acknowledgements, but then each classroom is expected to have, what does that look like in your classroom? And this is evidence-based, that when we have routines and acknowledgements and consequences, whatever that looks like in your classroom, that align with the universal of the school system, all of this helps support not only the student, but the staff as well and the caregiver. So we also have our PLPs, and what we love about this is that, like Megan said, she created the design, but then we were each able to tweak it according to what our staff needs are and student needs. If you would open up the file review. Thanks. So this would be like one of the first steps, and what we did is we forced a copy so that when you are doing a file review for a student, it becomes their own, and then you would just change the name, and then we would be adding it into a student folder that we would all know where to find it, and then use it through the PreSST and SST. You can see that we have added our FastBridge data, our BEST survey results that our teachers take time to fill in. So we are in the process of teaching our staff how to find and locate these types of things, and also offering support. It's not like, oh, here you go, here's a document, off you go, figure it out. That's not what this is about. We're trying to all support each other and become more succinct as in how we are helping all of our children through the EMLSS framework. All right, so you can see that we also have a step-by-step. You don't have to open it up, Amy, but it looks very similar. Not everybody likes the flow of this. Still looks like too much. So we all felt that it was very important to have more of a step-by-step process to provide diversity for our staff. And you can see that all these links that are alive, like if you go into the BEST, that actually takes the teacher directly to the site, and their login would go right in there, and it would just take them right to search for a student. What are some of the interventions that might be helpful for a student? So we just feel this is a one-stop shop for the whole child. And I think that was my focus for this area. And I believe it's Mr. Moroc's turn.
All right. So I'm going to show you 2 different graphs. The first one's very similar to Heather's and Donna's, which is this one. And then I'm going to show you a graph or a chart that our team made from the high school. So it's very similar to this. It's just that we spice things up a little bit, but it has a lot of the same content. So if you want to get out of there. And so this is the top part of that 3-tier system. And again, it's the same thing, but you can see where it says start up here, and Heather and Donna talked a lot of the stuff in the first blue box. I want to focus your attention on the second box and all the way down on 7 mindsets. And so at the high school, we have a SEL curriculum now that we follow, and it takes you right to the home page of 7 mindsets. And Heather talked about the climate and culture kind of survey of the classroom. And 7 mindsets is, again, focusing on how we can connect children with the work that we're doing in our classroom, and how we can really get the most out of everyone involved, teachers, staff, support staff in there, and students. So if you are struggling with We Are Connected as a group in your classroom, 7 Mindsets is a great resource, universal resource that teachers could tap into. The next box I want to focus on is all the way down the pink box on the bottom. And at the high school last year we did things, or a system called Huddles, and it's really a goal setting for our students.
Excuse me, Matt. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. It's called what?
Huddles.
Oh,
Huddles.
okay.
Yep. And it's really a goal setting for our students. So we're putting ownership back into this students split and really having them own what goal they want to focus on. So it might be academic, it might be behavior, and it's really a SMART goal. So it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And then again, it talks about like, how do I reach my goal? Why is this goal important to me? And so we really wanted to focus on that student creating a goal with that staff member. And then also talked about the PLP like Heather did, and Donna, and then we also wanted to put down at the bottom.
Don't hit that.
Yep, sorry.
Next to the studio.
Yep.
PLP, professional learning plan, or?
It's basically where we document any conversation that we have with a student for our reference. And then all of our staff can see that documentation.
Similar to an IEP?
No, an IEP would be a specialized student
Yeah.
support. Yep, this is documentation for any student in our building. And then basically we wanted our staff to confer with other staff members. So something that's working with Mr. Meyer might not be working with Mr. Marunk. So I can go in there, look at maybe previous plans that students had support with, and I can see what's working with other individuals or other classroom teachers. So we really want to confer and collaborate with others to see what best supports that student. And then the last one, the purple box is, how do we tell if this is working? If it is working, we want to continue to make the plan and look at when we can discount those services. If it's not working, we have to ask ourselves, how do we determine if this is effective? How do we know if this is working? And if it's not, how long do we do it and make changes with it? And then it keeps going through, and it kind of just gives you a good analogy of how do I know if these interventions are working? And if they're not, what do I have to do next? That's where we're submitting that file review to a member of your directed person in your building, and then that file review goes to the SST team, and then that starts the second step and the third step. And at the high school level, it's called a productivity plan, but it's very similar to the second step of the SST process for elementary and middle school. And I can turn it over to Megan.
So overall, because it's me, right, this is a database system. It's a way for us to move through a system with what we're already doing without putting too much more on the teacher. We're just using what we already have in a systematic way, and we're starting to collect data around it to make better decisions for our students to be able to set plans for them. So that's what we have. Any questions?
How do the teachers feel about it?
I'm going to turn that over to them, because they're the ones who rolled it out to the
We
teachers.
created it with our school leadership team, and the feedback that we've received at the elementary level has been really great. They appreciate the step-by-step and feel as though combining the behavior with the academic is important, and they're very thankful that we have that step-by-step in this document to be able to help through the process.
I would say similar. We didn't have our SLT team work on it. We focused in with our title, Cindy Hodak, Jamie Kirsch, coaches, and our counselors, and Lauren Bessa, and kind of focused on there. We went to each PLC, and this really does lend itself to the PLC model, all of this support of the system. Shared it out, giving them a chance to stop and think, and now we're actually creating, we're working through some specific students in each one of these file reviews and pre-SST, and we're showing them what it really looks like, but we're taking some incremental time. So we're back on like an agenda in December, and then actually showing them what it really looks like with real people that are in our students. So like that, don't click on the yellow one, but that takes us right to where all these documents are housed. We don't want to show any student names or anything, but we get lost in the shuffle a lot with so many documents and everything else. So again, all of this is really trying to get to the same place, and then we actually have our middle school data well on there. So I think the big appreciation is that we're using data. We know that we don't always know how to interpret the data, and that's going to be our next system. And we shared this out with our district PBIS team yesterday as well, and just really feel like this is a great venue for us to really hone in on some of those data pieces and feel more supportive of interventions.
At the high school level, similar to Donna and Heather, we did roll it out with our SLT team, but we did have a teacher that was involved in their counseling, administration, and Megan helped us out with the process. And I think when you look at this, a lot of this stuff we're already doing, It's just a more systematic approach to how we want to get there. And it's more of a timeline on what steps you can take to help support that student throughout the process. So when you look at it, it's a lot, but this is a lot of stuff we've already implemented, and we're just refining it and putting it into a more systematic approach.
But then it also helps keep you on task to follow a methodology that'll get you to the end result that hopefully you're looking for, but also gives you those guidelines that maybe weren't there previously.
Or they might have been there, but they weren't real clear.
There.
And we weren't always going back to the same stuff, we were looking for something new and different. So we're just, like with Megan's help, this has been really helpful. Because when you're looking, if you're a school psych and you're looking at all these different things and people are asking you questions, if you don't have the whole picture of the whole child, and not just one lens of behavior or academic, it really puts a stopper into which direction you're going to go, and that causes confusion.
If I could ask a question, and this would be for like Heather or Donna. Could you just explain in a general sense who would be a part of the PreSST team
Yeah.
versus the SS team?
So if you open up you can open up the PreSST. Oh, don't, she doesn't have a live link on hers. So the PreSST would be, let's say if it's a fourth or if it's like it could be a classroom teacher, but then we really want to talk in a collaborative, like if a student is in my classroom and I notice that they're struggling with reading, I want to use that PLC process and bring this to the table and have a conversation. Hey, I have a student who's struggling in fluency, and I know I can talk to Cindy Hodak or Jamie Kirsch as my coaches or title, but then who else could I talk to? So this is prior to a parent conversation, but after, well, it's kind of intermixed, and then like the file review would be helping with this PreSST. So currently this is really about investigating information with the colleagues that you have, and if you're like in 6th grade or higher, you've got how many different teachers working with you, like your social studies, science, so it gives you that collaborative effort as well. And then you're always communicating back with the families and just kind of this kind of cycles through. This could take, a month, because I know at the elementary you're for sure doing one SST kind of meeting a month. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so at the elementary level, we have designated one day a month. So like the first Monday of the month is 4K or kindergarten. Then it goes 1st grade, 2nd grade, and such. So it's already scheduled out. And then the participants in the PreSST or SST. So the PreSST would be the classroom teacher, could be another classroom teacher, especially if they work with that student as well. Could be our title teachers, special ed if it's a special education student, our school counselor, principal, and really anyone else that has worked with the student, because we really want to just team together and best support the student. And as we move on to our SST, our hope this year, which we didn't include the parents in the past, but really including the parents at that SST level.
Megan also will help create these so that they all kind of align. So you can copy and paste the information from the file review to the PreSST. The information that's from the PreSST can be copied over into the SST, but as you see, you're getting more in depth with more information, more intervention, more conversation, and more people probably at the table as you progress through that. Because if you get there, then you're like, you're still, not sure what to do for this particular student, how to support them. You need other people to help and assist, so that's why it gets a little bit more lengthy.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Thank you for that presentation. That's very good.
Thank you, team.
Okay, we will go on to board action items and item A.
I move the board approve the second reading of the Neola policy update 29-2 and policy update 29-2 technical corrections.
Second.
Okay, it's the second reading. I guess we didn't really have a lot when we looked at them in the first reading, but does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, then all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, that passes. And then we're gonna skip over item B for right now and go to item C.
I move the board approve the 2020-2021 certified staff compensation as presented.
Second.
Okay, so we brought this to you last spring when we assembled a committee of volunteers to be on the certified staff compensation revision team. And they had a number of recommendations, and then because of the uncertainty of the budget picture, we held off and presented to you in October. And then we had that board meeting in October, and it seemed like this would be a better time, less on the agenda. So here we are now, after all of these months, asking for approval. The attachment indicates exactly what we've discussed since last spring. We were able to accommodate what we felt the recommendations that had the most support from the teachers on that committee. And the prices haven't changed tremendously, a little bit because you lose staff and gain staff, of course. But overall, when we looked and the staff worked with us at that time, we knew that the CPI was 1.8. And if you take into consideration all of the recommendations on the attachment, the total package is a 3.8% increase. And obviously, depending upon where a teacher is placed, etc., it doesn't mean that each will get a 3.8, of course. But overall, we're really pleased that we are able to present this to you tonight as a recommendation and honor most of their suggested feedback.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
We feel good enough about the budget next year, Tim, to get to do this?
Well, JD, those are really kind of almost two separate questions in a way. Because, when we had the discussion about the changes in the revenue limit, when we talked about setting the levy, we're in declining enrollment. So now that we're consolidated, we're gonna have to make sure we align our FTE with our enrollment. There's no question. So, we're gonna be, all projections are we're gonna continue to decline. And we'll have to look at staffing every year going forward till we level out. And so that'll be an important feature. This year, when we presented the budget, these, we knew that this is the plan that we wanted to implement. The budget is built around this plan. So it's in this year's budget. We'll have to address FTE next year.
Okay, anything else? Then we'd go ahead and do a roll call vote on this.
Boulder,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Balzer.
Yes.
And we'll go on to item D, consideration to approve the 2021 support staff compensation schedule.
Move the board approve the 2020-2021 support staff compensation schedule as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Tim did compile with Melanie's help the wage comparison that was requested last time, so you'll see that attachment there as well.
Anybody have any questions on that? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, in the comparison pay schedules, on the top row says computer technician low, kitchen low, custodial. Does the low mean anything, or is that just a placeholder?
Jim, that really, the survey that was done by, this was the HR director over at Merrill put this survey together last spring. And within each category, if we use the kitchen low as an example, they've identified just what is your starting wage of your lowest position in the kitchen. And that might be something like let's just say maybe a dishwasher as an example. And it has nothing to do with what the majority of their staff might be placed. It's just the low position and the low wage in the department. And then likewise, there were, that's kind of across the board. The positions don't necessarily align all that well, but when you look at things like a special education IA, that's a very specific position that's very similar in districts. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mike, did you have a question?
No, I didn't. Thank you for asking.
Anybody else, questions?
Well, that classification 4 for the special ed IEs stayed as a classification 4, correct? After we kind of talked about it? Okay.
So Mary, in the discussion there, on one of the bullets under the administrative content, that's where we came up with, to give you an idea what 50 cents, adding 50 cents an hour to that position would cost as a group. And then on the survey, you can see how we compare to this group of schools. And again, it's the low, it's not necessarily where everyone is at.
Yeah, I think on the survey, we kind of fit right in the middle. We do on most of those things, so that's good. Any other questions, comments?
I just want to thank him for making those adjustments that we talked about.
Say it again, Jeannie?
Thanking for the adjustments made.
I want to thank Tim for making those adjustments that we talked about at the last meeting.
And Jeannie, just so we're clear, we proposed last time to keep that classification 4 at the $14, which is what is shown on that survey. And we're saying if you wanted to add to that classification, the bullet point under the administrative area is that 15,000, I believe it's 100.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that's clear, you haven't made the adjustment.
We have not
That's what
made
it
that
would be if
adjustment.
we did.
Correct. We're just providing you with the information.
Okay. No more questions? Mary Kay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yeah, yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Balzer,
Yes.
Boldig,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And then we'll go back to item B.
I move the board approve the amended 2020-2021 fiscal year budget as presented with the total expenditures in all funds in the amount of $33,223,888.92.
Second.
Any other questions or comments here?
There are two documents that are part of the packet tonight. And one is the budget publication packet, which is required by DPI and which we'll publish in the paper. The other is just a real brief summary of the changes. And, you know, obviously when we talked about the setting the levy, the biggest change, of course, is the tax levy. And then the reflected change of state aids. So overall, the Fund 10 revenue changes came to $34,480. And then we have changes in expenditures for a grand total of $13,352. So, you know, if anyone has any questions, I'd certainly entertain trying to answer them. The one thing I did want to point out, probably the biggest change, talking with Sarah DeBoer. Sarah is, DPI wants her to, she's got a fairly healthy fund balance in Fund 50, food service. And a lot of that has come from the summer feeding program where our rate of reimbursement is higher than the regular national school lunch program. But Sarah has got some, she's got a dishwasher at the high school and other aging equipment. So she has decided to replace that equipment and to spend down some of her fund balance to try to meet within the DPI guidelines. So her expenses are going to be increasing by over $100,000 this year. And she'll still have a fairly significant fund balance, but if you look at that budget report, that would be the biggest difference in food service in Fund 50. So overall, the changes other than the revenue and the setting the tax levy, those would be the two significant ones. I think, unless anyone has any questions on the two documents.
Only one question from myself, Tim. On the Fund 10, the columns to the right of the figures, those are just the individual sub-accounts?
Let me pull that document up.
You got like a 10R, 000345, and then I assume those are just the sub-accounts that those all
Yeah,
go into?
so Mike, when you start looking at that, you know, the R stands for revenues, obviously, and the 200 is local, and then the 600 numbers would be state-related.
Oh, okay.
Revenues from the state.
Good, thank you.
I have a little bit of a note there with a decrease in Fund 27, and that's primarily a decrease in the biennial budget had a 30% rate of reimbursement for categorical aids for Fund 27, and it's some certain amount. So instead of being a full 30%, I think the aid reimbursement is going to be like at 28.2%. So we had a slight reduction in revenue on the categorical aid. That's what that's for.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Then we go ahead with a roll call.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Balzer,
Yes.
Boldig,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And that would take us back to item E, consideration to approve district new hires.
Move the board approve the following new hire, Michaela Zastro, high school math teacher.
Seconded.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I have a question. Under her education where it says BS Business Administration and then it says currently enrolled in math teaching certification program, what, is that like student teaching?
There are pathways now with the shortage of teachers. DPI has endorsed different pathways that someone like Michaela can enroll. I believe she's going through the one at CISA 9, Excellence in Education. So it's kind of a second career, but she has a lot of background experience and information, and it's expedited to get a Wisconsin teaching license.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Did somebody second that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just was wondering what that meant.
Okay, then we go ahead and do a roll call vote on that.
Long,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Balzer,
Yes.
Bolduc,
Yep.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And then we will go on to report of donations.
I move the board accept the following donations: $123 from Judy Boyle donation for Clara R. McKenna Aquatic Center, $100 from Jimmy and John Myers in memory of Robert Price for Clara R. McKenna Aquatic Center, $25 from Elsa and John McKenna in memory of Robert Price for Clara R. McKenna Aquatic Center, $200 from the Home Companies for AHS FCA, $100 from Parsons of Antigo for the AHS FCA, $15,000 from Andy and Leon Shield Charitable Trust for the Clara R. McKenna Aquatic Center, $2,000 from Antigo Kiwanis Club for Nobokana Lodge Building Project, and $3,500 from Terence Foley Real Property Donation for the AHS Automotive Programs, $150 from the Optimist Club of Antigo for AHS Boys Soccer, $500 from K. Schrader for AHS Drama Club, for a total of $21,698.
Seconded.
Okay, those are all very generous, a nice group of donations for the month here. Any other comments on it?
If I could, I'd like to comment on the donation from Mr. Foley. He donated a snowmobile, and the kids are gonna tune it up, and he specifically said he wants to have the program raffle it off to students in the high schools, so it's going to be a student raffle for a snowmobile. So I think it's kind of cool.
Very nice.
Does that mean they're gonna decorate it too? Something students might like? Okay. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we'll go on to item G to confirm the next meeting. And we have December 22nd down here. And I'll just say that Mary Kay had called me and asked me if we wanted to change that, and I told her we'd leave it to see if the board wants to change it. So this is right a couple days before Christmas. It doesn't mean anything to me, but if it means something to somebody else.
Committee of the Whole is on the 8th. With the 22nd, sure.
Everybody okay with the 22nd then? Okay, so that,
Say it again, Jeannie?
It doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay.
okay, so then we're good here.
Yep.
And then we will go on to closed session, consideration of a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically referring to administrators' compensation.
Before we vote or anything or make a motion, I'm going to recuse. I don't have a private place to listen.
Okay,
Aye.
I will second the motion.
okay. Then roll call.
Neufeld,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Baldwin, Bolduc,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Thanks.
did you lose Jeannie, is that why it went that way?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so is Jeannie back on here, or? No.
She probably hung up.
If she would have left the meeting, that would have happened, or did it?
Yeah, so the
So she
meeting,
probably-
she could theoretically call back in, but yeah, she's no longer in.
Okay.
Okay,
She can call in on somebody's phone.
Okay. And if we're set, I guess we're good. Justin, thank you. We're going to let you leave and continue with our closed session.
Oh, I thought we were, I'm sorry.
sorry,
No,
no,
I
no, no.
restarted this. Sorry, I got confused.
Good,
on what we were
thanks.
doing.
Oh, you restarted the
You're
meeting?
fired.
Oh, okay, well, don't do that.